Welcome to Austin Staffing Industry Analyst, the Growth Game Podcast live. I am Paul DeLuca, and we're happy to have two guests today from Avionté, the CEO and CRO. We're so happy to have Brigid Eisenman and Mike Metzger. Thank you so much, Mike. We appreciate it. Brigid, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Growth Game Podcast. My whole audience, they're constantly looking at things that they can pattern match. They're looking at vendors and also competitors, and they're trying to figure out what's working and what's not. And so you guys have this really amazing view, this huge macro view of things that are working. So I know my guests are going to really love to have you guys on and have a nice chat. But before we talk about business, I want to just get to know each other. You guys know me. I've been literally financing staffing companies since the late 90s. I got into the business. I don't know if you know this, but I grew up around a staffing company. My father had a staffing company, walked into my room when I was a teenager and said, I don't know how to make payroll this week. I don't trust my finance person. Can you figure this thing out for me? And went out and started using some technology back then and used an accounts receivable finance company to grow the business, totally solved my family's problems, issues with the capital. And I started my first company in staffing, did that for about 8 years, and I left that and ended up becoming a financier. So that's my background. And I absolutely love what I do. But I'd love to figure out, Brigid, how did you get into this business?
Well, I also love what I do, and I didn't know that part of your story, Paul, so thank you for sharing.
I always save the little tidbits and the new things for when we get you on camera.
Get a good facial expression.
Yeah. Well, I'll share a little bit about my staffing story. Before my time at Avionté, I spent 10 years on the agency side, and I'm going to date myself here. This is when you still looked for work in the newspaper, right? And I actually faxed a resume in. I thought I was applying
for our younger audience. Can you explain what a fax is, please?
Yes.
Okay, you faxed
your resume. It's similar to a phone that, you had to rotary dial at the same time. But anyway, so I faxed my resume in, and I thought I was applying to work at, I'm from Minneapolis, Target Corporation is the big deal there. And they were advertising for this job at Target Corporation. Or so I thought. And anyway, long story short, I got an interview. I show up for the interview, and I realized it's for an agency, a staffing agency that I really didn't even know was a thing back then. And I ended up working on the Target account for the staffing agency. And the rest was really history. It was a family-run legacy business focused on retail, hospitality, high volume, high growth. And I loved it. I spent 10 years there. When I started, I was a recruiter running a desk. When I left, I was negotiating lines of credit and running the business with the owner. So it was quite an education.
Wow, how fun. What a neat experience. So you really lived and breathed what is going on in a staffing business from the beginning to the end. I like that you had all that experience. It's really nice in an entrepreneurial environment like that to be able to get a taste of that. So you really know what our clients are going through.
I do, and our customers, of course. Yes.
And that's how I feel, and I really I love that about, when I'm sitting there across the desk from somebody trying to help them solve their finance problems, like I've literally lived it. I literally have been there on a Friday afternoon going, I don't know how I'm going to make payroll today, and it tests you, but you learn it, and there's a lot of camaraderie with your clients, and that's really great that you've been able to stay on that side. So you were there for a while. You learned staffing, and then did you transition into Avionté right away into technology, or how did that work?
I did almost right away. So I spent, I knew it was time to move on from that agency. Again, after 10 years, I didn't want to compete. I ended up working for a customer in a similar space, high volume, contingent workforce, working directly with them, and then transitioned to Avionté 4 years later, which the staffing community is near and dear to my heart. It is important, and it was a great way for me to stay in the space, but again, not compete, which was also important.
That's super exciting. So, and how many years again with Avionté?
12.
12 years, and now you're the Chief Revenue Officer.
Yes, I'm sure I don't look old enough to have been here 12 years.
Well, for you, no, you do not. I'm voting for that one. That's amazing. Excellent. That's very cool.
Avionté's been a great journey.
That's really neat. And of course, Mike,
Yeah.
You've been running this business now for, you've been CEO for less than a year.
Less than a year. Yeah, this is like the bookend here, right? This is the experienced industry professional.
Exactly.
And I come from 20 years of software, but 1 year of staffing. And I find our industry so fascinating and incredible and frankly, very human. I mean, there's nothing like helping people get work. And I love, it's been a new experience for me coming to these shows. And I was giving Brigid a hard time yesterday because like the number of hugs that happen when you walk the floor, mostly to Brigid, not to me.
Yeah.
And I was keeping track yesterday and Brigid was like 12 and I was like 1 and that was the one she gave me. But anyway, it is a very unique, important, and often under-recognized industry, and I've loved getting to know it, and I'm learning and new, and hopefully I can add a little value.
That's exciting. I would say I appreciate people coming into the industry. They find it shocking how there is so much of that human connection.
Oh.
And it's really a beautiful industry. It's really hard to ever leave because you go to, I've been to other shows, I've been to other industry events, and it's very cold and it's very mechanical. But there's something very interesting about this business because we are in the business of helping people put food on the table.
Yeah.
That's literally in a very, very real way, helping to employ people and get them out to work and solving our associates' needs, solving the client needs. And then even now, when we get to the entrepreneurial side, being able to empower people to be able to make some personal wealth, make some family wealth and be able to create a business. It's pretty amazing.
That is the other thing about our industry, which also surprised me, is the density of family-owned businesses. And I come from a family-owned business myself in a different space, but it's like it's part of the Americana dream, and I love that.
I agree with you so much, and that is part of what we do. I'm adding fuel to the fire by giving them capital. You're giving them the technology to be able to actually compete with the larger companies. That's a very enjoyable thing. So, welcome to the industry.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you, and we're not going to let you go.
Hopefully I won't get
No, we're not going to let you go. Okay. So, great. So let's talk a little bit about the things that you notice that your clients are doing that works. Like, our audience is always trying to pattern match successful growth opportunities. So I'm really curious, Brigid, when you look at different clients or you see through your salespeople, when they're telling you about prospects that they're talking to, are there any identifiers that you would say, oh, wow, I know this staffing company is going to grow because of this? Are there any of those things?
Yeah, good question. I would say, the Avionté community is high growth. There is a lot of growth within our customer base. And in general, it is because they are very intentional, focused on leaning into technology, not just Avionté, although Avionté is a part of that, and thinking about how they can do more on the platform. It is just like anything. You get out of it what you put into it. And so, it could be resourcing against it. It could be committing to training. It's basically prioritizing that utilization.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say, independent of technology, is just diversifying and adapting. This industry is built on change, adaptation. And people who lean in and think about how can I do more for my end customer, for my end team, those are the ones that we're seeing really make it to the next level.
Interesting.
And that's important. Yeah.
Having spent time in small family-run businesses, there is this intentionality that Brigid mentioned around understanding workflows and then translating that into repeatable workflows and workflows that you want to get rid of.
Right.
And the good news about the flexibility is, we've gone this far in our conversation without mentioning AI, but our customers and this industry is going to take on AI with a huge level of energy and effort. And that's great because AI is fundamentally about identifying workflows, automating workflows, and allowing your business to be more efficient, which ultimately allows you to put more people into jobs quicker.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a great segue into something I wanted to talk about. And by the way, obviously, everywhere you go, everybody's talking about AI. All here at, the conference, many of the speaking events, it seems like every other person I meet has some new business, .ai. There's just, it seems
Almost like
there's
if you don't have AI in your name, something's wrong.
Yeah. AKA, please stop putting AI in your name. But, that's only the marketing person in me. But anyway, no, I agree with you. It is truly a transformational event. I mean, I think we all know that. But here's the question. How does, a company like yours that has an amazing legacy? Like, I look at the industry and I kind of think of there's really two behemoths in the industry that are in staffing. I think in the top two, do you have any stat, like what % of the market for ATS and technology does the top two fill? Do you have any specs around that?
I think if you took the top two and you looked across all segments, right? So professional, healthcare, IT, CLI, between us and our other big competitor, which I can't say their name, but we are in the, call it 45 to 50% range.
That's amazing. Okay, so that's a huge market share for two incumbents who have been doing this a very long time with legacy businesses to own 45 to 50% of the market. That's a pretty big position. Okay, so here's my question. How do legacy software businesses that have all of these, long-term legacy processes and technology, how do you compete and evolve in such a rapidly changing environment where AI is fundamentally changing the way humans interact with technology?
So we think about it in two buckets. We think about external facing AI and internal, kind of our own workflows and processes. And I think what you're going to see is any software company that is not radically changing their software development lifecycle process will be left in the dust. And so our chief technology officer was at a seminar put on by AWS last week, and he basically came back with a whole new framework for how we'll build and release software. And a feature that would have taken us 3 weeks is now going to take us 3 days. And that's
because of the implementation of internal usage of AI on your development teams.
On the development teams. And then there isn't a piece of our business that we're not looking at functionally in terms of how we might be able to automate some of the workflows. And like, what are you looking at specifically in the go-to-market area?
Oh, everything. I mean, everything that you would consider go-to-market, right? We're looking at intent data. We're trying to understand buyer signals earlier on. We're trying to ensure that our teams are meeting buyers where they're at and solving for today's challenges versus, that of a legacy platform, if you will. And I think the other thing that is really useful about the extensive exercise we're going through internally around change management and adopting AI is that it's positioning us to also help our customers with that evolution.
I like that. And it's really training the internal teams to really think about this because every organization is going through that same transformation. That's an interesting point. You're going through the process yourself, which means you can speak to it and help them execute.
Right.
Yeah, well said. Well said. It's going to be a very interesting, rapidly evolving 5 years. Or 3 years. It's going to be very fun.
Yeah.
I know for myself, like I was an early adopter with AI, but I mean, I just did something this weekend that literally just completely blew me away, and it just keeps happening. Yeah. It was the first time I actually my technologist who is leading our AI development, just begged me to go download Claude and use Cowork.
Yeah.
And I've been just a huge ChatGPT fan. I'm a power user in ChatGPT. I do everything with ChatGPT that you can do. And for the first time, to be able to put a folder with 8 files in it and give it a command, and to see what it did to manipulate and export, it floored me. And I mean, this is just something that is just happening so quickly that if we don't get on this bandwagon, it's going to be we're going to get lost.
That's exactly how the software development lifecycle, basically, you load everything in, right? You load in bug reports, you load in your desired objectives, you load in feedback from customers, you load in everything, and then you start having a conversation.
It's incredible. It's incredible. But so how do buyers, how do staffing companies navigate this where they have all of these very micro solutions, right? Like, so let's say you're a $50 million shop and you're using Avionté and you've got this developed, group, right? But now you've got 20 new vendors giving you a tiny little slice that actually is an amazing, potential increase. How do you navigate those micro changes with their legacy and, very long-term developed system? What advice would you give them?
Well, I'd start off with AI as a means to an end, right? And the end is faster process, more efficient, speed to hire, speed to place. And I would say, go look at your business and look at your workflows and identify where you spend the most time, or you have the most pain, or you are dedicating the most resource, and focus on those areas first, because that's where any kind of automation, AI included, can add the most value.
Got it. And of course, talk to but talk to your legacy system and say, listen, here's the challenges I'm trying to fix.
Yeah.
What other tools and or upcoming tools are you going to develop, right? Because I think what happens a lot is we get into this, shiny new, we're going to chase this new shiny thing.
Agreed.
And you can spend so much time chasing that shiny new thing where you don't realize that this long-term process that literally your whole team is using you need to make sure that you don't chase this and forget this long-term developed strategy and operational processes, right? We
inside affectionately refer to it as the AI hype cycle.
I love that.
And there's a lot of that out there, and part of the trick is in figuring what works, what matters, and where to focus your efforts.
Love it. All right, well, we're done talking about AI. All right, so talk to us a little bit about some of the things that you are going to be doing.
That don't include AI?
Yeah,
I'm not sure we've got anything.
I'm talking about AI. I was just kidding. No, like when you look at AI and you look at development with the team, the systems you have, what are some of the things that you're going to develop first?
So we already have some, right?
Yeah.
We haven't necessarily been calling it AI, but we have some of our talent engagement that already is got automation in it and has got some AI. And for 2026, we're going to kind of continue that, right?
Okay.
Because we think right now that's the spot where we can help our customers and their recruiting teams speed up.
Speed up the sourcing?
Speed up sourcing.
Got it. Okay. Speed up the sourcing because you got these huge, all this data.
Right.
Find a way to be able to iterate on that quicker and even communicate with them?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I like that.
Ideally, it's not your team iterating on the data, it's your version of Claude, or it's your, right? So that, and the part of the trick here is assembling all of the contextual information that you've got, right? So your history of candidates you've looked at and which ones have matched and which ones haven't and which ones have shown up, which ones haven't. I mean, it's like any signal that you can add to the system, the better.
I get it. Makes a ton of sense. Let's talk a little bit about sales.
Sure.
So you're running sales and marketing. You're running the entire revenue cycle for Avionté. I'd love to hear what are some of the ways that you are connecting with potential buyers in that own staffing companies. How are you finding people's eyeballs, right? Because everything changes so drastically. If you talked about a few of the number one things that are, or maybe top few tactics that are getting engagement. I know our clients would love to hear, our audience would love to hear that as well.
Yeah, well, I am fortunate to lead both our new client acquisition team as well as our client management team, which are kind of the bookends of the journey. And there is literally no better way to earn a new account than to have an existing account refer us in. So our customers mean the world to us, and they often are serving as references, as referrals. And the health of the industry is really one of collective effort. And so that works well for us to have customers who are raving fans and helping us to find new agencies. I would also say, events. SIA, we host our own user conference. We invite both prospects and customers. We leverage the partner community. Just like people on the agency side say staffing is a relationship-based business, it is in ours too. So we want to get out. We want to get to know you. We want to be in market. We want to share a meal. We want to have a conversation, and we want to build on a partnership. And that generally begets good wins for us.
Yeah.
So
Earn a hug.
And earn a hug.
And earn a hug. Yeah,
Earn a hug.
exactly.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. That's great. Yeah, it's fun to be able to continue to connect, add value, and we have a limited ICP here. I mean, what is there? I don't know, something 18,000-ish, depends on how you count it. Between 16,000 and 25,000, I don't know. Staffing companies in the U.S. and Canada, right? So this it's not a huge ICP, and so being able to continue to deliver, be there, show up, get those referrals. Those are the most enjoyable ways to get business. And of course, you still got to do all the other things. You got to do all the other tactics to be in front of their eyeballs. But excellent. Well, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate it. Keep doing the great work that you guys are doing. Welcome to the industry, and it's beautiful to be able to see you come in and be able to take such a big part of the industry that so many staffing companies rely on and run with that from an operational perspective. It's great to meet you, Brigid, and be able to see what you're doing to be able to push this business forward. And great to hear about how you came from staffing. I think that our audience really relates to that. And so appreciate it. So it's been great meeting you, and really appreciate having you on.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, that's a wrap for the Growth Game podcast here in Austin. Until next time.